And each of you guys have an elevated vibration, right? We're only aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. Talk about what you do now to build your brand, so you can monetize that.
Yeah, I mean, it is just a different culture we live in. And 2018 is so much different than 2008, 1998. I mean, the guys that first got into the sport, it was just collect a paycheck when you got into a fight. Now, you look at the sponsors behind us. You look at these events that we get to go to. You look at following in the lead of a guy like Gary Vaynerchuk. You follow in the lead of all these people who understand that you follow trends and you follow consistent data of what's happening in the markets and what's happening, how everything has shifted into digital and everything has shifted into social media and everything has shifted into attention arbitrage, like Gary talks about. I mean, it's one of those things where the sport of mixed martial arts also, the only thing that mattered back in the day was the belt. Now what matters is
the brand.
How impactful is your brand? How are you able to go from point A to point B to point C? Even if you're not the champion, how well can you talk?
DJ Ski, this is a good night, man. That's it.
That's how we do, man.
Well, I'm here on the red carpet with Vayner, an entrepreneur, and look, the playbook's up there.
I see
my star
you,
guest, my star guest.
And the video you just did was so incredible. I need you to send it to me so I can post it.
You got it. You got it. You got that, Bradley? You got to send it to him. DJ Ski here. I have never seen you in.
I know, this is.
What? I thought you were AJ. I thought you were AJ. Did AJ dress you? Yeah, he's here. I am with the man. Awesome. Gary V. Need I say more? His event. Thank you for allowing me to grace your own.
Of course.
Look,
hey everybody.
I did this for you.
No, I'm impressed. And I came in with shoes. It's rare.
My best joke of the day is that I beat your record. Did you hear?
No, what happened?
I sold out the Dave Meltzer K-Swiss brand. I did. One pair in a minute. The only pair of Dave Meltzer shoes. If you want a pair, I have to get them. Exactly. Yeah, but you have millions of them. Awesome.
Good, man.
You excited about your first Super Bowl party?
Yeah, this is like super interesting, right? Like passion, have fallen in love with the industry. I mean, when I see the entrepreneur logo and it's one of those things when you grow up from humble beginnings and you have passions. If you would have shown me this picture, us two, those two logos, I would have been like, what?
Yeah.
And so it's super. It's super humbling.
This is our anniversary. We met a year ago at the Nike Suite.
That's right.
And I think both of us, the attraction was we both have this of service attitude, right? I remember you told me a quote, and when I walked away, I said, I'm going to do business with Gary at the right way, at the perfect time. And because you said, I don't like to be behind on the ledger of doing things for other people.
100%.
Like, and my line is, hey, how can I be of service? What can I do for you? 100%. And we almost, at CS, kind of got stuck because we're like, what can I do? Exactly. But it's killing it.
My best relationships are friends and acquaintances and business contemporaries that we haven't been able to figure out to do anything because we're both jockeying to give value first. Yeah. And then it happens through osmosis. Even with us, right, in the last years, we continue to get to know each other. There's just all this osmosis. There's this tonight. The team is here. I see your team.
Love you.
So like, yeah, man, I'm really excited for you to be a part of this. I'm excited for what it represents to the industry. I think there's a lot of disruption happening in the entire world. And I think the sports world, which is such an incredible industry, is due for some ruffling up, changing, putting a little pressure on it. And I think that's our ambition. And I think, more importantly, spotlighting these young men and women who are doing such extraordinary, interesting things off the field. Athletes have changed fundamentally over the last 15 years. They're dramatically more entrepreneurial. They're much more focused. They're thinking in 60 and 70-year terms, not in 60 and 70-second terms. And I'm excited to be a part of that wave.
And those are the two things I noticed. You're radically humble, which, sometimes when you have your big personality, people don't realize how humble you can be, but you're also a long thinker. Like, I'm a long thinker. I see things, even with your sports agency, I have a lot of experience, and what I realize is you have great vision that you're not in a hurry. Like, you realize, Dave, we talked about, look how successful, where a lot of guys attach to an outcome when they start being agents and like, there's no shortages, voids in what you do. You're a long thinker, And I had Michael Chandler, the MMA, the Bellator guy.
Yes.
What my favorite line he said is, "I'm more interested in my brand than the belt," and that's where the sport's really changed.
I think that's exactly right. And look, these guys and girls have to perform on the field to give them more leverage, but the fact that they over time may not have to, they all talk about, while I've got this shield or this logo, I want to leverage it. I think this generation, definitely, because I'm feeling it, the 16, 17, 18-year-olds that are in the system that are going to hit the field in a decade, a half a decade, they're thinking real different, and I think we're gonna see a redefining of what a modern day athlete is and how they think off the field, and it's gonna be fun to watch.
Well, you are one of the people that have the most engaged audience. I go on Radio Row every year, and I'm more popular because I've been here so many years.
Yeah.
But you're my new mentor, which is rare for me to have a younger mentor. But I'm talking about you a lot on the radio, and it's funny because a lot of guys don't know who you are in that sports radio side. But the ones that do
are so over the top. Over
the top. It's like when you bring out a book, 5 bestsellers. When you bring out shoes, 56 seconds. Even beat Dave Meltzer's 1 pair. But it's amazing how, and I'm
it's a depth versus width game, right?
Yeah.
You're referencing earlier, and for everybody watching, they won't catch the nuance. We saw each other at CES, and you're like, how do I help you? Like, like I can help. And I'm like, look, we're just into year, 2 barely. We're like a year and a half in. We're gonna sweep up the first round in 7 years. We'll get to basketball. We'll get to esports. And that's the same way I feel about Radio Row. They don't know me now, but they will.
Anything I can do for you, let me know. All right, thank you, buddy.
See everybody.
I've been given the honor to give 2 important awards. Entrepreneurship is very important to me for a different reason than most people think. When I was young, wanted to make a lot of money, and that's why I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I grew up broke. The only time I ever saw my family sad was we couldn't fix something. So I thought, gosh, if I was rich, then we'd be happy all the time. But I learned later on in life, it was truly to be an entrepreneur was to help others. And shifting the paradigm of value of being of service is truly what makes an entrepreneur. There's plenty of innovators out there, there's plenty of business people, but a true entrepreneur changes lives. I ran the most notable sports agency in the world. I was teaching young men to be empowered, to be responsible, and in 2008, I lost over $100 million. Bankrupt, right? Lost it all. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. In fact, my biggest fear of being a father, I have 4 children, is how, having everything again now, do I teach my children what, Jack, you talked about, and Gary, and, CJ, I know where you're from. How can you, when you have these huge homes, they go to great schools, I have food stamps, right? We all know what's that like, just to eat. Like how do you guys think that you can empower young people today that are entitled?
It's something I spend a lot of time on because I have young children and I have the extreme situation that's happening right now. The first thing I think about is parents who have wealth, who didn't come from much, that this is important. They make one major mistake, I think, early on, which is they try to fake environment. Right? They think sending their kids to Africa for 4 days to build the schools, like all of a sudden grounds them. But like a week later, they're going to the Hamptons. So I think first you have to be realistic, right? You can't fake environment. We are all products of our environment and our parents. And so I think you have to be realistic and you have to impose certain things. For me, it's quite basic. I don't need my kids to be entrepreneurs. They're already spoiled by any standard that I understood. For me, it's about teaching them kindness, it's empathy, and it's having a couple rules. Rule number 1 for me mentally is at some point between 12 and 18, they're gonna have to figure out how to make their own money. And number 2, if my kids ever, and I mean ever, impose my wife and I's wealth on one of their friends, I will punch them in the fucking face.
Or take their phone, it's a lot better.
You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm listening, right? Like that's what you have to listen for. Like they're like, oh, you don't do this, or you don't know a real football player, like, or you don't have a nice hat, or you don't fly private. I'm gonna strangle them.
Just take their phone. It's way more painful.
I want to punch.
There we go. Child Services heard it here first. I'm blessed to be around great people, and I tell you, surround yourself with the right people and the right ideas. All 3 of you have this perspective. I call it the definition of happiness. It's a consistent, persistent, enjoyment of the pursuit of your potential. Right? Everything you do. I was with Marcellus Wiley, and he told me in the 8th grade, Dave, because all he wanted to do was be the best that he could be. He was the California state champ at typing, right? And that personality trait, though it might sound silly, is the reason he went to Columbia. Told me he went to Columbia, like you, CJ. He went to Berkeley. He could have played anywhere. He was one of the top Compton kids, right? Recruited by everyone. He said, I went to Columbia because I knew if I'd be a good enough football player, they'd draft me, but everyone would always think I was intelligent if I went to Columbia. There'd be no question about it, not the color of my skin, not the way that I speak, but because I went to Columbia, I instantly had an advantage over everyone else because they think I was intelligent. I want you guys to tell me the one personality trait, if you take yourself back, like Marcellus did, what would that trait be that you just would like to be a given when someone looks at you and says, you know, icon for, what's that personality trait that you'd like to be known for?
For me, it's self-awareness. You know, I'm just obsessed. I mean, look, I went through about four traits right now. To me, I think self-awareness.
Those are for the 4 personalities.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think self-awareness really matters. Like, when I look at everybody in this room, if somebody said, what can you really give somebody? I'm all about empathy, I'm all about gratitude, but self-awareness is just such a superpower. When you know who the fuck you are, confidence. Yep, because when you know who you are, you can triple, like, so many people here are spending so much time trying to fix shortcomings that are DNA traits and are just only going to be incremental instead of quadrupling down on what you've got. And, you know, to me, it's self-awareness.
Awesome.
I just like to help make people better.
There you go.
It's simple.
Awesome.
Being from the Bay, I'm gonna use this word. I call it ism. We call it ism. If you're from the Bay, you should know what that is. Ism means game information, and that's what's best for me. The ism hustle, whatever you want to call it. What I want people to look at me is, you know, I spoke at Harvard January 25th, right? I went to Harvard, had an hour and 30 speech about dreams never die, right? That's the foundation. Crazy. In that speech, the ism was so great, as I like to say. In that speech, MIT sitting in the crowd, they got a conference, and then February 23rd, they want me to go speak behind Barack Obama, which is amazing. This is all for my kids back home. But why I chose the word ism is because if you can hustle, if you can grind and work because you come from nothing, just like he said, if you know who you are, the best, most powerful thing you can have. So if you can instill that into other people, it's the best way to do it.
Let's hear it for CJ on that one. Gary and I were talking about finding your frequency, and you know, I'm blessed to travel the world and speak at all the schools that rejected me, and then they're paying me to speak now. So much fun. But you know, finding your frequency. I was talking to Gary about, I'm on Radio Row today, and because I've been in the sports world so long, I know all the media guys. They all owe me favors because I brought Troy Aikman and Steve Young on their shows. So now they return the favor by putting me on their show. So I'm talking about my mentor in a lot of these interviews, my new mentor, Gary. And it was funny because at this time, a large majority don't know who Gary is. And yet he's so, you know, prevalent in my world. But it was amazing because the percentage that did, they went crazy. They absolutely went, oh my God, can you invite me to his party? I just want to meet him. You know, these are guys that meet the biggest celebrities in the world. And it really tells a story about the 3.2 billion people on the internet. And you don't have to please all of them, right? It could be 6 million that just love you for who you are, that self-awareness, that frequency. And each of you guys have an elevated vibration, right? We're only aware of that which vibrates equal to or less than you. So the higher you vibrate, the more you're aware of. And awareness is a gift, right? It's left or right, buy or sell. It carries all kinds of stuff. I see things as skills, knowledge, and desire. Okay. So if you have certain skills, they cross industries. Okay. And then if you have knowledge, mentorship, books, movies, podcasts, whatever that is, that knowledge. So I always focus on the skills, knowledge, and my desire to do what I love to do. And so it just crossed over all these different industries.
Oh,
Okay.
So I worked on being the best I could.
Okay, so you made yourself initially like more valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of those were just gratitude, like Gary talks about, empathy, accountability, and effective communication. So I learned how to communicate not only to other people, but to that which inspired me, right? So I lived an inspired life.
Oh, so networking is networking a lot also.
Exactly. If you ever need anything, just email me.